Most sports have their showpiece event. For tennis, it's Wimbledon. For golf, it's the Masters. For Ironman triathlon, it's Kona. And for ultra trail running, it's the UTMB, Ultra Trail Mont Blanc. Inside Sport. I'm your host Mark, and I'm really excited to bring this video to you today. We're going to be talking about UTMB, we're going to be talking about ultra trail running, and if you're just new to the sport or you've been in for a while, you might be a little bit confused about the whole UTMB World Series, the World Finals and the World Event. So in this video, I'm going to explain it all to you. Okay, so I did my first ultra back in 2010, and it's been quite a long break for me. I've just come back into the sport now, so that's what, some 13 years later, and there has been an explosion in the sport around the world, and you are probably part of that explosion. So if you've just found ultra running for the first time, or maybe you're a seasoned athlete, you've heard a lot about UTMB, you might have done some of their races, but you're not too sure how it all works. Well, this video is made for you. So I want to explain to you how you can get to the World Series finals and what it is about all these confusing things like running stones and event qualifications and lottery and all that sort of stuff. So let's dive into it. Now, UTMB was a family-owned business for quite a long time, and then a couple of years ago it was brought into by the Ironman group. So if you've been an Ironman triathlete or woman, you will know that the Ironman group stages events all over the world, and they have their World Series finals every year in Kona in Hawaii, although this year the men's race is going to be in Nice in France. So UTMB was amalgamated with Ironman Group, but the important thing is that UTMB has now got the investment required to really create a global world-class running event business. And that's what they've turned into, and of course there's some positives and some negatives for that. So if you've heard of the UTMB, it actually stands for Ultra Trail Mont Blanc, and that's their showcase and flagship event that takes place in Chamonix every year in France. And this year's event's coming up at the end of August, beginning of September in 2023. I'm going to get into more details about that in this video. So let's start off with UTMB, and the best way to explain it is that there are three different sections to UTMB. We have the UTMB World Series events, we have the UTMB World Series major events, and we have the UTMB World Series finals. Now, if you've just got into ultra trail running and you're going to do an ultra trail race somewhere in the world, it may be that that race is actually a UTMB race. Now, when you get into that registration process for that race, and if you are keen on maybe one day participating in the World Series finals, then you should open a UTMB account. So just go to UTMB and you will be able to register, set up a profile. It's pretty much like setting up a social media profile online, and that will give you your own UTMB account. You must have one of those if you want to progress in the lottery system and in the stones process that I'm going to talk about in this video. So that's the first thing that you need to do. Once you've done that, you will be recognized by UTMB as part of their community. You'll be sent a lovely email. So that's step number one. Step number two is to decide what race you want to do. Okay, so let's look at the UTMB World Series events. By running these events, you're collecting running stones, which are mandatory to enter the UTMB World Series final lottery. That's the only way you're going to get into the World Series final, if you collect these running stones. The top three male and female finishers in 50K, 100K and 100-mile categories automatically win their places at the finals. So by doing these World Series events and by becoming a top three male or female in those distances, you will automatically get through to the finals in Chamonix. There are 34 events across Americas, Europe, Asia, Africa and Oceania planned for this year, and these number of races are increasing each year. So just check out the races each year and you can find all that information on the UTMB website. Okay, so let's have a look at the UTMB World Series Majors. They're held each year, and there's 3 events, one in America, one in Europe, and one in Asia Pacific. Collect double the amount of running stones compared to other UTMB World Series events for the UTMB World Series Finals lottery. So if you do go into one of the major series races, you'll have double the amount of opportunity to get into the lottery for the UTMB World Series Finals in Chamonix every year. So that's an important point to remember. In total, 225 runners are also granted automatic qualification for the UTMB World Series Finals through each major. So again, by competing in one of the major events, you will increase your chances of getting into the World Series Finals. This includes age group category winners and the top 10 male and female runners in 100 miles, 100 kilometers, and 50 kilometer categories. The Canyons Endurance Run by UTMB is the race in the United States. The Val d'Aran is the UTMB race in Europe, and the Doi Inthanon Thailand race is the race in Asia Pacific. So those are the 3 UTMB major races each year. And as I've just explained, you've got an increased chance of getting into the lottery and to qualify for the UTMB finals in Chamonix if you compete in one of those races. Okay, so you might have heard all about these things called running stones. What are they? No, they're not something when you get dehydrated and you end up getting a bad tummy or something. These are little running stones that you need to get to qualify for the lottery process to help you to get to the UTMB World Series Finals. So simply by doing your race and finishing your race, you will collect running stones. If you go to the major events and run there, you'll get double the amount of stones, so that helps you in the lottery process. Each year the lottery is drawn and you will be notified by UTMB, if you have a UTMB profile account, that you have either made it or not into the race for that year. So that's how the system works. Some people are fortunate enough to get into the first year. Some people that I know have been waiting for years and have not yet been selected. So it's just a matter of chance, but the more races you do, the more stones you collect, and that's an opportunity for you to have more chances in the lottery. So that's how the running stone system works. So let's say that you've been fortunate enough to get into UTMB World Series Finals this year, 2023, and you want to know what's going on. I'm going to now have a look at each of the races that are happening in the UTMB World Series Finals in Chamonix coming this August and September. And hopefully it'll give you an idea of what you can either aim for in the future, or maybe if you're fortunate enough to be already in the system for this year's race and registered and qualified and got a lottery ticket, then this is what's going to happen in August and in September. So let's have a look at the races now. And this year we have the UTMB major race, we have the CCC, we have the OCC, we have the TDS race, we have ETC, we have MCC, we have PTL, we have YCC, and we even have 2 mini UTMBs for young kids. So that's fantastic. So a lot of acronyms to get through. So why don't we do that now and have a look at each of these races. I thought I would do is break down each of these races so you can see what race distance are, what date they're actually on. Maybe if you're not racing this year, you might want to follow these races online and see how the competitors go. You can also find out what the elevation gain is in this particular race. You'll find out what time the race starts and what is the maximum allowable time. These races are measured in time and there are cut-off times, so you have to be wary of that if you're training for one of these events in the future. So let's have a look at the first race, and the major flagship event of UTMB every year is the UTMB 171 kilometer race, which is just over 100 miles. It's run this year on the 1st of September. The elevation gain for this event is 9,963 meters. The race starts at 6 p.m. in Chamonix, and the race allowable time is 46 hours and 30 minutes. That's the cutoff time for this particular race. So it's going to be an amazing race this year. We've got all the best athletes in the world, best trail runners turning up to run in this race this year. So you will be able to follow this on their live stream on the 1st of September. So that's the UTMB race. And then secondly, I talked about CCC. So the CCC race happens also on the 1st of September. This time the race distance is 100 kilometers. The elevation gain is 6,156 meters. The race starts in Chamonix at 9 a.m. in the morning, and the cutoff time for this race is 26 hours and 30 minutes. So next up, we have the OCC, and this race will take place this year on the 31st of August. And the race distance for the OCC is 55 kilometers. The elevation gain, 3,425 meters. The race starts in Orceses at 8:15 a.m. and the cutoff time for the OCC is 14 hours and 30 minutes. If you're not too sure of how you're going to handle trail running and you want to do something a little bit different, then maybe the ETC race is one for you to target. This race this year will be raced on the 29th of August, and it's a 15-kilometer race distance with an elevation gain of 1,200 meters. The race starts in Chamonix at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and the allowable time, or the cutoff time for this particular race for ETC, is 4 hours and 30 minutes. Okay, next up on the list of races that'll be taking place this year in the World Series Finals is the MCC race. This race will be raced on the 28th of August. It's a 40-kilometer race with an elevation gain of 2,300 meters. The race starts in Montagne-Combe at 10 a.m. in the morning, and the cutoff time for this race is 10 hours. Now, there's a lot of people that like going long in ultra trail running, and UTMB have come up with a race that might be right for you. And the PTL is that race. It starts on the 28th of August this year. It's an incredible 300-kilometer race with an elevation gain of over 25,000 meters. The race starts in Chamonix at 8 a.m. and the maximum allowable race time is 151 hours. Now, a couple of things you need to know about this particular race, the PTL. You must be an experienced person in the mountains, and UTMB will actually ask you to fill out a form to confirm and to prove that you have mountaineering experience. And then the second one is this is actually a teams event, so you can actually do this with 2 or 3 different people. It's a little bit different in terms of there are some orientation and navigation requirements, so that's why you need some mountaineering experience. But if you're looking for something that's a lot longer in distance to do and to see the wonderful area of the Mont Blanc Massif and beyond, then the PTL race might be the one for you. So check that out as well on the UTMB website. And next up, we have the YCC, and this is for younger people who are getting into the sport. It's going to be run on the 29th of August, and it's a 14-kilometer run. Elevation gain 1,100 meters. Start time in Chamonix at 11 a.m. and the cutoff time for this run is 4 hours. So again, for people that are getting into the sport and for the younger generation, the YCC might be the perfect race for you. So jump on in and have a look at that. Again, if you're not already in for this year's race, start looking at next year's race and what you need to do to get into this race. So very, very interesting package there. And as I said, there are a couple of mini UTMBs, which are just over a couple of kilometers in distance. They're going to be run during the week at UTMB in Chamonix. Now, I haven't had the opportunity yet to go to Chamonix for UTMB week. I'm really got this on my bucket list. In fact, I'm trying to qualify through the lottery system to get in there. I have an ambition of winning my age group at the UTMB major race over 171 kilometers in the next couple of years. So I'm actually a full-time training ultra distance athlete today. That's my dream in life, and that's the goal that I'm currently chasing. Okay, so there we go. There's the UTMB global structure explained to you in a little bit more detail. Remember, some key points to take away here is if you want to get to UTMB World Series Finals, get online and set up a profile on the UTMB community page. You'll then get notification from the UTMB people that you have a profile on board. And each time you do one of the races, then you can update your details automatically into that system, and also the amount of running stones that you have collected. Again, those running stones allow you to go into the lottery system that will then give you the opportunity to be selected and to participate at the World Series finals, which are held in Chamonix every year around August and September. So there you go. I know a lot of people getting into the ultra running world have heard about UTMB. It's a little bit confusing if you're not sure about all these running stones and events and how do you qualify, how do you get into it. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If there's other information that you might like that I haven't included in this video, please drop me a comment. Hit the subscribe button, the little bell notification, and every time I drop a video in Inside Sport, you will be notified. I cover all major sporting events across the world right here, including the Rugby World Cup this year from France, including UTMB races, and a lot of other sports as well. So thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you're all well. If you are a runner and you're looking at getting out there on the trails, stay safe and stay well. Enjoy your running, and I hope to see you again soon right here on Inside Sport. Until next